Hey, what's up, guys? Tuki here, back again with another episode of my UDFA only franchise mode series challenge franchise challenge right here on NHL 20. And today we continue onward with this nightmare of a challenge. But before we get into, jumping ahead, simming to the end of the season, because of course I still don't expect this to be a season worth following along with, I did want to talk about the main topic of discussion heading out of the last episode, which has been how we're building the team. There are pretty much two main ways you can look to build this team. Either the way that we've done it, where you just hope you get lucky with free agents coming out of the draft, and you also hope that your coaching staff actually lives up to the hype and gets these guys playing up to that next level. Or you can rely on certain guys that are already established that, we could have signed in the early stages and hopefully, potentially could have turned them into even better players. A great example here, although age-wise it doesn't really line up, but a good example is Lawrence Pilot. Had we signed him from the moment the Buffalo Sabres let him go, he would have been 24, 25. Maybe he would have turned into a low 80 rated player and been very useful for us in this series. Also factor in being able to sign certain guys like Barclay Goodrow. He's another really good example who would have been, out of, peak development period by the time we could have signed him to begin with, but he could also be a very useful player for us, and perhaps that would have been the better way to go. I'm not saying it wouldn't have been, to sign guys like Goodrow, to sign guys like Pilot, have them play with the best of the available options from the method we have been using, and seeing if that helps these guys develop a little bit better, as opposed to just having it be a team that is completely full of, the undrafted free agents that have been generated throughout this series like we've been doing. In terms of how we're going to build this team moving forward, I think we are probably likely to start using the Barclay Goodrows of the world to build up this team, because so far this method hasn't really been all that effective. And I gotta be honest, it's pretty disappointing. We've done well to have a pretty strong coaching staff over the past, over the past few seasons, and we have not seen much improvement, if any, from the majority of our prospects. So that was the original plan. This isn't a Draft to Glory style series, and then it's like, okay, no trading, no big free agent signings. We could sign any UDFA that we want to. I did think, at the beginning of this series, I'm going to, try to avoid those players because it might make this challenge a little bit easier. But the reason I held off for the most part was because I wanted to see how effective it was to just try and get the coaches to build these players up. And like I just said, it hasn't been all that effective, which is pretty disappointing. So if I were to ever do this challenge again, I would probably just start signing the likes of Barclay Goodrow from day one, as opposed to hoping for the developments. I don't know if maybe this just been bad luck, if the players are bad enough. Maybe that is what it takes, is to have a mix of these younger guys alongside veterans like Goodrow to boost them up a little bit more and see those potential increases. But so far, it hasn't gone all that well for us, unfortunately. So in terms of what we're going to do this offseason, there was nothing I could do at this point in time at the start of this episode because we were already on 50 contracts. But in this upcoming offseason, I would fully expect to have to make some trades because I think we're going to change things up. We're just going to go with the best players available that we have. So if we have to trade away some people, that's fine. We move draft picks anyway. So if we're going to move some people out, and that way we have plenty of space to bring in veterans, then so be it. But I think that will be the strategy that we take moving forward, which kind of sucks. I'm a little bit disappointed that we didn't see better improvement. But like I said, maybe, mixing them with the veterans is the right way to get those results. So just wanted to talk about that at the start. We will still do the best that we can, but there needs to be a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel here because right now it still feels like we haven't really even gotten out of the starting gate. It's still, oh boy, it's still looking like a long road ahead. I will see you guys in a few seconds after this is done simming, because obviously there's no point in following along. A 13-win season is in the books, like we said just a few seconds ago. Not exactly a season worth following along with. I think we knew that, although Igor Jass did score 20 goals and put up 57 points. So, hey, something went relatively right for us, I suppose. He's up to a 70. The big question here will be when we look at progress reports at the end of the year to see whether or not any improvements have been made to primarily potentials. I don't expect that to be the case, though, because it really hasn't happened thus far at any point in this series. So, just to give you guys, of course, a quick look at what every division looked like. Of course, we'll sim through the playoffs, take a look at the playoff tree, the Stanley Cup winning team, and all of the awards before we get to really the one time a year that we have to look forward to, which is when we get to make additions to this team. But right now, it's rough. It is not great. Although a 30-point defenseman and a 29-point defenseman isn't too bad. Just ignore the minus 88. Wyatt Pete, an .893 save percentage, is actually a little bit better than I thought it would be. All things considered. Meant to take a look around the league. My God, if you can't tell, there's a reason why videos have been a little bit, I wouldn't say sparse. I mean, yesterday, literally, I was up during the day, and my neighbor was cutting down a tree. It took him 6 hours because, if I don't cut this down, it might fall on my house in the winter if the snow is heavy enough. How selfish is he? Anyway, and then today, it's for the past couple of days, it's been, my God, it's been kind of feeling like I'm going to be getting sick on and off. So, yeah. But I'm doing the best I can, damn it. Trying to make sure we get videos out for you guys because, I mean, damn it, I want to make videos too. It's what I like to do, man. Ovi with 49 goals. He's on Vegas, by the way. 37-year-old Alex Ovechkin, Torrey Krug, Gostisbehere, and John Carlson all tied with 79 points. The winningest goalie, Pyotr Kokechkov. Not bad. Top save percentage amongst the starters, John Gibson, with a .918 save percentage. So we will sim to the end of the playoffs, take a look at everything from there, and see what this team ends up looking like at the end of this offseason. Like I said, I think there's a lot of guys, the medium backup goaltenders of the world, the low top sixes on defense, maybe even some of the medium sevenths that end up getting moved. There's going to be some changes. There's just no way that there's not going to be. So we'll see what happens here and whether or not, I guess, this new strategy of relying on some veterans, but also, trying to have them boost up the players that we already have. We'll see if that's the better way to go as the Florida Panthers win the Stanley Cup. A Stanley Cup victory for the Florida Panthers. We will see what they look like. We'll take a look at their journey to how they got there as they beat the Nashville Predators in 6, Battle of the Cats. And the Panthers win it. You heard it here first. The Panther can beat the saber-toothed tiger. The Rockford Ice Hogs beat the Lehigh Valley Phantoms in the Calder Cup final, sweeping them in that series. What do the Panthers look like? I mean, Huberdeau and Barkov obviously did pretty damn well. Let's see what we got. Huberdeau, Barkov, Owen Tippett's up to an 86. Not bad. Kenny Dadnoff, Henrik Borgstrom, Dennis Malgin. I mean, it's kind of the team you'd expect to see. I mean, they added Hinostroza, Blake Coleman. For the most part, though, very similar on offense. Defense, Yandel, Ekblad, Matheson, Nisterday, and Brendan Smith. Goalie, Sergei Bobrovsky. So, a .902 save percentage, and somehow that was good enough to win a cup. Wouldn't have guessed it. But there you see it. The Eastern Conference dominance continues. 4 straight to begin this series. 4 straight Stanley Cups for the Eastern Conference. Nathan MacKinnon wins the Art Ross and the Hart. Torrey Krug in Carolina wins the Norris. Lady Byng goes to MacKinnon. Luotz-Rheinem wins the Calder. Huberdeau the Conn Smythe. The Vezina to Kochetkov. I've heard like 7 different pronunciations of that. The Jennings to Gibson. I'm kind of surprised that Gibson didn't win. I mean, he had a higher save percentage for the amount of games played. Still, though, the Masterton to Cizikas. Former Chicago Bears quarterback Jay Cutler wins the Jack Adams. The Selke to Dylan Larkin. Nathan MacKinnon to Ted Lindsay. And the Rocket Richard to Mr. Farabee. Down in the AHL, Gergensen scored the most points. He was league MVP. I believe that's Curtis Hall scored the most goals and was the top rookie. Best defenseman, Duncan Keith. That's horrifying. Top goaltender, Connor Ingram. And the MVP of the playoffs, I think it's Mikhail Hakkarainen. Not 100% sure. Retired players. Getzlaf, Bergeron, Thomas Vanek, and Mikko Koivu lead the class. Bergeron and Koivu both still in the NHL at that point in time. Amongst defensemen, Chris Letang hit 700 points. Shea Weber, Duncan Keith, Ryan Suter, and Dion Phaneuf, the best of them all. Goaltenders, Pekka Rinne, Ryan Miller, Tuukka Rask, Mike Smith, Carter Hutton, and others retire. Will anybody become a staff member? The answer there is no. And indeed, it seems like the amount of staff members, the retirees becoming staff members, it does seem to die down after the first really 2 or 3 seasons, which is pretty disappointing. We have already traded away all of our draft picks in this draft, so we'll breeze through. I don't really care to know who the number 1 pick was, I gotta be honest, because it depresses me over what they have versus what we cannot have. It's just sad. It sucks to see. So, when it comes to contracts here, see, this is where it's tough. Do we keep someone like Pete who might have a chance to get better? I genuinely don't know. Because if you look at it, I mean, I have my doubts that any of these guys are actually going to make it. So I think we might just let all of these guys go. Maybe we look to bring back Pete later on. But without any, and in fairness, I didn't look at the progress report, but just looking at this, I really don't think anybody improved off of last season. Cizikas is a 70 at 22. He's not going to hit high 70s off of that potential at that age. If he was 19 or 20, sure, but he's not going to hit that high overall. Kavanagh, Wang, these guys just aren't going to get the job done for us. And we're never going to get close to seeing the playoffs. So I think what we're going to do is pretty much let all of these guys go. Even Linden. I know he's one of our top players right now. That doesn't say much. Jass is up to a 74. He's at least useful. He has the same potential. Okay. Yeah, I can afford that, but really? And then Sear, Garefa, Hughes. I know that they're low 70s, but there's just no improvement there at all, and it's a bit of a nightmare. And you would have thought Jass, going up to a 74 for playing top-line minutes in the NHL, would have seen his potential go up. He didn't. His price went up. There's no help there. And I'm not sure if just the coaching isn't working as advertised or if we're just getting incredibly unlucky. But there are certain players that you would think would have made, a little bit more progress than they actually have. So, taking a look at who we have right now, and yes, I'm aware I let all the staff members go too, both of them, which I'm fine with. Let's look at goaltending, but I am not opposed to trading away every single one of those players. I gotta be honest. It all depends on who's available here with this free agent class in goal. So, what we will do, first and foremost, we will sort by potential. And we'll see if anyone's available. All 3 of those guys were drafted. IRL, Primo, I believe, was drafted as well. Couple of medium fringes, but the overalls are so low that I just don't see that panning out You do have Corriston, who we had last year. I'm not all that optimistic he's going to make it either. Let's see, you have Dostal, who was definitely drafted. Meant to turn off RFAs, but that's okay. Oh, dude, this is rough. This is already looking pretty rough, I gotta be honest. Tarasov was drafted. He's an RFA as well. Vladar, Eliasson, everybody. Keith Petrozelli was drafted. He's just created, of course. Berdine, Villalta. I mean, there is just nobody there. That's the only way to put it. There is just nobody there. All of these guys were drafted. There's a high backup goalie. He was drafted by the Bruins, though, and dropped to the free agent list. Good old Dick Bobick, also not available. So, I genuinely don't know what we're going to do. The best option might just be Shesterkin, I believe, was drafted. Was Igor Shesterkin drafted? You never know with the KHL options. I'll look that up really quickly while we look for anybody else. Oh, Henrik Lundqvist, I wish we could save you. Igor Shesterkin, call him what you will, two different spellings. Yeah, he was a 4th-round pick in 2014. So we could pick up Cam Talbot for the year. To be honest, I probably will, because screw it. Like I said, maybe if we have 1 or 2 forwards that are worth holding on to, it'll benefit them for having slightly better goaltending. So we're going to bring in Talbot. We're going to bring in Delia, I think it's Delia, not to an $18 million contract, although we will have to take up some cap. And again, the goalies that we have signed right now are just terrible, and they're not going to make it. So I think our best case scenario here is to continue to, or begin to use these guys that are already established and just wait until we get lucky with a couple of half-decent players that actually show up. So we'll see what we can do here. Kyle Kaiser will be the last one that we pick up, because he might be the only one that has a half-decent chance of making it, even though he's a medium backup. So those will be the 4 goalies that we go for that will hopefully lead this team into the future, which, I mean, with Cam Talbot, he's 35, so it's not going to work out too well. But this year might not be the year for this challenge from the looks of it. It really, I might have been able to time this in the worst possible way by trying to do this challenge this year, where it just looks like there aren't as many guys falling through the draft for whatever reason. So we're going to deal all of this to Arizona, and here you can have my 1st-round pick this year, because screw it, whatever. We'll get rid of those goalies, and we will bring in the 4 that we sent offers to. Defense, pretty straightforward. We'll see what we can find here, but obviously it's check for prospects first. If there's nobody there, then we move on. And I mean, these guys are RFAs, so that's not going to help. Let's make sure to actually remember to sort it out this time. No top 4 players at all. Do we have any medium 6s, though? That could be worth it. Jacob Bryson was created, as was Mario Ferraro. Joe Ciccone as well. Davies, Kovacevic, these are all NCAA players, of course, that we added in. Johannes Johannesson's 26, and he's the last one with a half-decent potential. So the nightmare continues, as far as I'm concerned. There is just nobody that I am overly happy about, because there's nothing. There's just nothing there for us right now. It's crazy just how little talent is falling through the draft. So we'll pick up Danny DeKaiser. We'll pick up Jan Ruda if we can. Vancouver also sending him a deal. We have the advantage of being able to spend as much money as we want to. Mark Giordano and Chris Tanev. Gio's 39 years old, but screw it. Let's bring him in as well. See what we can do here with some of these veterans, and we'll make the best of it. Let's go ahead and sign Chris Tanev. That'll be the 4th player we've sent a contract to. Ben Hutton, the newest Los Angeles King. And I want at least 2 more players here to round out the NHL. And we'll see who's available. Sean Walker. Go ahead and sign him up. And we'll look for one other dude. It's a damn shame that there are literally no defensemen that fit the bill for what we're looking for. Let's go after Christian Folan. And those will be here. We'll also send a Dale Lawrence pilot just in case someone rejects. Those will be the defensemen that we target. And forward-wise, is there a single player that can get our hopes up? It doesn't really look like it. In terms of potential, there's Wingles, but was he previously drafted? Yes, he was. What about Rensfeld? All right, so we have Sven Rensfeld. 54 overall, though, at 20 years old. That's a bit of a nightmare, and I don't know if that guy will ever make it, but we'll find out because we will be pairing him with half-decent players, more than likely, just to see if he can ever make it. Now, is there anybody here? Rive. Okay, Sylvain Rive. 19 years old, a 54. That's not too bad. It's actually a half-decent option for us. What about Cole? Drew Cole, formerly drafted. Is there anybody else in the medium 9s? Mikhail Malakoff. Damn it. Wow, former first-round pick. Carolina really swung and missed there. Low 9. I just don't know if I want to trust. I mean, that's the type of potential where it's like, okay, yeah, if someone goes from low 9 to medium top 9, we have a chance. But they haven't been doing that thus far. We have not seen a single example, and none of these guys are available outside of Andre Prospel, who I guess we will give a shot to, but it's been those type of players where I'm like, okay, yeah, if they develop, we have a chance, and they haven't gotten better. Lundin, look to sign him too, and I guess hope for the best. Kalle Ekman-Larsson. So we'll see. I mean, if this group of low top 9 forwards develop, then we know that they're still worth targeting. But if they don't, then we know it's just a complete waste of time on that front. Are there any medium bottom 6s? Obviously, there are the few guys that we let go of that I'm not against bringing back. I mean, Jass is the main one. Maybe he's finally, gotten himself together and realized he's not getting $4 million a season, even if I can afford it. Because that's insane. Jan Drozg, not looking that good. Schoenmakers, Josefson. Oh, boy. All right, let's scroll through. Zach Magwood is 25, so that doesn't help. Poirier was a 7th-round pick. Do we have anybody else here that could work for us? Blake Murray was drafted. For whatever reason, he's an example of a player I found where they just didn't have the correct information in the game for him. We'll sign Yakupov, because why not? Sanders, the Colonel, that's not going to happen. There's a lot of medium bottom 6s, and the vast majority of them were drafted. Kai Louie, 22 and a 64. No thank you. That sounds like a nightmare. There's just nobody here, aside from Rohan Ludwig, who we previously got rid of. I'm looking at overalls here more. Ariel Backus, not looking that good. Philip Sederqvist, not looking that good. Holmberg's 24, so that's not even going to matter. Mitch Stevens was drafted. This is a dire situation right now. I never thought it was going to be this bad. But this appears to be the year where if you want to hope for some steals that weren't drafted, it appears as though you're going to have a pretty rough time in that regard. Because it's just, there's nobody here. There's all the medium bottom 6s in the world, but there's just nobody here. And it sucks. Because I don't see how we're going to get out of this. And I really don't. And that's the issue, too. Some people are like, oh, why don't you just, you go through the draft, but you can only take players who are projected to be undrafted. Those are the players that would fall to this stage anyway. And if they wouldn't, it's because they're getting taken in the late rounds anyway, and that's why they're not here now. So it all kind of adds up to just, it's just not happening. That's just how it adds up right now. We have no luck at all. And things more than likely wouldn't be going our way regardless of what approach we took out of those two. Where the hell is the dude that we dropped? We got McGrew, Kostitsin. Again, we're hoping that some of these guys look okay, but it's not happening. Newkirk, you were probably drafted. Yep. Damn. Cooper Marotti, but he's 26. Like, you see how bad of a spot we're in, right? God. We're all hoping optimism dies. This series, right here. The day we actually get a half-decent player, it's going to be a miracle. So we'll take a look back at the top, the best rated players possible, and we will see if there is anybody like an Alex Iafallo who might be able to help out this team in the future. We can give him that 2-year deal. Why not? Sign him to almost $5 million. I mean, decent player for sure, but are we going to find success, because he's leading the way on the top line? No. I mean, he'll have a very good year. I mean, if we play him next to Dominic Cahoon, we'll be doing pretty well. But it's, oh man, it's rough. So right now, we're essentially going to be going from hoping for the best with a lot of young guys to having some players that you would expect to see picked in an expansion draft. Just minus, like Vegas, with what Vegas had with all the draft picks and what, Seattle will eventually have with a bunch of draft picks and a bunch of free prospects that teams gave them so that they wouldn't take somebody else. The Florida Panthers. Man. Calle Arncroke. We get Dryden Hunt as well. So the team will be better, but there's no foundation to this. We don't have prospects underneath these guys. This is temporary. This is a temporary boost up that ultimately isn't going to help us. Now, of course, we don't make our own draft picks, so it's not that damaging in that, we're not shooting ourselves in the foot and screwing ourselves out of a chance at a top 4 pick. But it's still just so disheartening. Do we have anybody else? Goldobin, David Cotton, I believe, was drafted. I'm not even going to check, but Austin Czarnik was not. Looked really good. Jesus Christ. I'll sign him to it. My God. Looked really good in Calgary's preseason game the other night. Ryan Carpenter. I won't say channel legend, but he worked out pretty well for us in a series of 2 last year. Anybody else? Kiefer Sherwood. We are actually at the maximum amount of contracts right now. But still, let's sign Sherwood. Send offers out to any 79 rated player that we can. And then we'll look at the 78s later on. Again, those last 2 guys that you saw that were undrafted, Max Zimmer as well. Pretty sure he was drafted, but he is created. All right, so Brian Gibbons is the first guy we'll look at. Let's move out some of the unwanted players, skater-wise, much like we did with the defenseman. And we'll see who we have in terms of the best of the rest. And, again, like Asham, Alexandrov, Ranford even, he's not going to make it. He's just not. There is nothing there amongst these defensemen. Absolutely nothing. It's just, oh God, it's horrific. When you really think about it, in terms of like, oh, have we gotten any decent players? No, we haven't. There is no foundation here at all. especially compared to even when we started. There's really not much else to look at here and be like, oh yeah, well, we have that guy and that. No, there's nothing. There's just absolutely nothing here. And it's amazing that our luck has been so bad that there was the one player, the goalie, the Meg, the medium elite goalie, who it looked like, this might work, and then nope, he was previously drafted too, and for whatever reason, his team just let him go. I mean, there's just nothing here. But we'll see what happens with these offers that we've sent out. We do have to go over to the coaching staff too and sort this problem out, as we have to completely redo the AHL staff. And I mean, in general, we should probably just completely redo the staff. Sylvester even as an NHL assistant coach, he's not looking good. Stempniak as an assistant coach, yeah, I mean, aside from our head coach at the NHL level, we have to completely redo the coaching staff here, and we'll hope for the best. So let's see what we can do. Oh God, who wants to sign up for this disaster? Anybody want to try and help put out this fucking tire fire? The best option here. That's a tough one. I'm gonna go with this person here, Braden Correa, and we will spend all of the money to try and bring you in as our associate coach, and then NHL assistant. In terms of teaching, what is our current head coach? But to be honest, I don't even really matter. I don't even really matter. Oh no. We'll sign this dude, Nicholas Hornquist. Sure, you can be our assistant coach if you want to be. You probably won't want to be. And our goalie coach will be Yuka Curry, or at least I hope, to round out the NHL coaching staff. And the AHL coaching staff has to be completely redone. So the head coach will have to be this person. Saul Cullimore, we need you. 55, going on 76 years old. Just kidding. He looks fine. But Saul Cullimore, we'll sign you up. The associate coach. Oh boy. Let's go. Man. Let's go for you. Actually, yeah, you have better coaching influence. Christopher Taves. Let's go for Christopher Taves here, and our goalie coach, and assistant coach for that matter. Again, you see that the grades for assistant coaches are pretty rough. Let's go for Vitaly Novikov as our goalie coach, and our actual assistant coach will be the first person here who doesn't have a goalie specialty, and that is you, Stanislav Ladd. Didn't we have this guy before? Or he rejected a contract offer from us. I definitely recognize that name and that face. They go together. So we'll see who accepts out of that group, and we'll see what the veterans think. As Braden Correa signed, that's good. Nicholas Hornquist signed, very good. Saul Cullimore is here. Stan Lazarev, Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Vinny Hinostroza made it up to an 85. Damn. Yuka Curry signs. Perfect. I think we signed every single guy that we wanted. Now we did with Novikov. Sweet. We will spam through the majority of this. Actually, stop. Okay. Well, we got all of those offers. Everyone's accepting because I threw them more money than they deserved. What I wanted to check was Jass. I didn't see him before. I wonder if he signed son of a bitch. I wonder if he signed anywhere already. Jass, did you sign? He did not. So he's a 74, low bottom 6. So I mean, he could still be worth looking for. He has trade value apparently, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But we could look to bring him back. I'm pretty sure we still have a couple of contract spots. We do. Granted, they really do need to go to other players. I think we have to bring back Jas. I think it's a necessity. Because if anyone was going to turn the page and actually end up... I really should have checked to see if he was a center or not. I completely forgot. If anyone is going to see a jump in potential, it's him. But whether or not he jumps to a useful potential or not, I genuinely don't know if he will. But we're going to find out, because we're going to sign him. I think the rest of the roster is set. We'll roll with a lot of these veterans. Like I said, it'll make the team better in the short term. Whether or not it can boost up any of the guys like Jas that we're hoping to see improve, time will tell. But let's see what we can do here for Jas. Just sign him to a boatload of money. And for the last 2 contracts, who's terrible that can just take a bunch of money? Steve Zalewski. We'll sign him up to a big-time deal, and Rich Clune, sign him up as well. Again, these aren't to use these players in an effective way. That's just a cap dump. And we'll see if those 2 sign, and if we do, we will we'll jump ahead as Evander Kane dealt to Calgary for 2 first-round picks. Both accepted. Jas accepted. I'll see you guys in the preseason. Alright, so this is the team that we are rolling with heading into the next season. Iafallo, Cahoon, Caggiula, Hunt, Vetrano, and Jas, who is up to a 75, but is still the same potential. Linden's still here as well, medium bottom 6, next to Zarnik and Carpenter. So again, we have some of our younger guys in the lineup. Linden, Jas, and Vasunov are the 3 to really pay attention to when it comes to the forwards. We'll see if they improve by playing with higher-rated players. Defensively, we don't have a single player that we're focused on trying to see if they improve, and then Talbot and Delia in goal. Down in the AHL, in fairness, I hadn't fully set that up yet, but again, Lankinen and Kaiser, there's not much to pay attention to when it comes to, future goaltending greats for us, we'll say. And we'll do that as well. I believe, our defense is made up completely of players that we want to see improve. And then forward-wise, I don't think there's anybody. Nope, there's Renfeld, Ekman Larson. Okay, we actually do have some guys that we got to get into the lineup here. Let's get Rensfeld in. Suglobov is ours, apparently. Are all of these guys ours? Zalewski isn't. Well, he's a cap dump, at least, as we talked about. I don't think... I guess Paul was ours. Callie Ekman Larson as well. We have a couple of guys that we need to get into this lineup here. Komatov at a medium bottom 6. Alright, let's see what we can do here. So Prospel, bunch of low 9s. It's not looking great, is the point. Tell you what, I'll fix that lineup off screen. Because, again, not feeling great, so this is going to be an abbreviated episode. But at the very least, it is a bit of a turning point as we make the adjustment and go with some already established talents to try and help dig this team out of this ridiculous crater that we currently find ourselves in.